15. The shir was supposed to start at 6, and I was delayed for technical reasons. I know it's very rude to be on the computer talking to people and holding a phone, but I'm trying to organize um, um, the number of people who are trying to access this shir. So, this is the last shir about the Tetzaveh, because tonight at 8 o'clock on this station, there's going to be a Fabrengen with the Bacharim, which is it's going to start 8 o'clock. Then we're going to interrupt for Ma'ariv, and then afterwards we're going to continue the Fabrengen in Mitzvah Hashem afterwards. But derweile, we're going to learn the last portion of the Ma'am Vata Tetzaveh, which I've been teaching since Monday last. Today is Wednesday. Yeah, I started it Monday last. And I think this is our 8th class. And at the Rebbe should helfen, we will complete the Maimer tonight. That's the plan, Mitzvah Hashem. What's going on in the Maimer? What's going on in the Maimer, as you know, is that first of all, the Pasuk, V'ata Tetzaveh es Bnei Yisrael, is understood to mean, oh, can you hear me? Yasal, you couldn't hear me, but now you could, right? Now you can hear me, Yasal, yeah? Shakel mitten Kop, now you can hear me, yes? Yeah, the Pasuk says, V'ata Tetzaveh es Bnei Yisrael. And of course, the Rebbe teached that V'ata Tetzaveh es Bnei Yisrael doesn't mean to command the Jewish people. Kennst mit Herren, Yasal, ja, mach mit den Fingern, miteinander. Okay, V'ata Tetzaveh es Bnei Yisrael does not mean to command the Jewish people. It means to connect lekasher or lechabed es Yisrael l'medintzov, to connect into the Mebishtin. Or the second lashon which the Maimah uses so emphatically, lozun or lefarnes es Yisrael binyan emunah, to provide mezenes and parnasa for Yidden when it comes to matters of parnasa, of emunah. And of course, the Rebbe added to that every Rebbe, every Nasi has 2 in Yonim, not 1 in you. There's Ikir in Yanai Mehem, and there's Tezoa in Yanai Mehem. Ikir in Yanai Mehem, there's Lozun, Lefarnes, Esra, Amuna, Atzmo. That every tzaddik, every Rebbe, his inyan is to touch the pinta lehid and to wake it up. Mo'ir, maybe not Koses la Mo'ir, but Mo'ir. This is Ikir in Yanai Mehem. And then there's Tezoa in Yanai Mehem, which is actual leadership at Pa'il Mamish. The Ikir in Yanai Mehem is always the same. Tezoa in Yanai Mehem, that changes from generation to generation based on the needs of the daughter. Says the Rebbe, our Maimer revolves around 3 Moshe Rabbeinus. The first Moshe Rabbeinu is Moshe Rabbeinu Agashmi. That Ikir in Yanai Mehem is always the same thing. Lo zunu lefarnes esu amuna atmo, to touch the Yechida. So the Yechida should connect to the Mazel, to the Chaya, so that the Amunah should be B'pnimius. What was the secondary? What was the Tezos in Moshe Rabbeinu? Leman Das. The Moshe Rabbeinu's inyan was be'me'ered by the Yidden generation Das. The second model of Moshe Rabbeinu in our Maimed is Mordechai HaYehudi in the time of the Gzeirus Hashmad, which of course parallels the Frierdiker Rebbe. That again, Ikir in Yanai Mehem never changes. Ikir in Yanai Mehem is always the same. Lozun or Lefanes Esa Amuna Atzmo, and in this case, it's Takakosas Lamoid, not just the touching the Yechida, but the Yechid itself is being revealed. I'm sorry. Because the inyan of the Mesiras Nefesh, which was required. And then the Tetzos in Yanai Mehem was to be Me'eder Yidden from Mesiras Nefesh. I'm sorry, against the Shemad. In these 2 models of Moshe Rabbeinu Agashmi and Mordechai HaYehudi, the Frierdiker of the Gzeira, that Rebbe said in the footnote 56, Yesh bazeh ma she'ein bazeh, v'yesh bazeh ma she'ein bazeh. Moshe Rabbeinu's mile is pnimius, and his chisaron is not magala yechida. The yechida is nice and care. Mordechai, his mile is magala the yechida itself. Yechida itself is revealed in Mesiras Nefesh. The chisaron is it's k'mei davar neisa v'kechas hagiluyim. It's separate from the person. V'haraya, you take a yidu in Russia for decades, was Mesa Nefesh, Mamish, for Payel, for Shabbos, for Kosher, for Mikvah Tareh, and V'iked Tinekesh of his Rab, Yiddish Achino, that person comes to the West, and it seems to have dissipated. It seems to fade because the Kosas Lamoir, the Yechida which was revealed, is Mugdir Begeder Apshitus. Etzam Nefesh, it's higher than the Keches HaGiluyim. So when you go away from Russia and you no longer have the Kosas, and you can't have the Gili of Lamoir in a way which pushes away the Keches HaGiluyim are the same as they were by a person who spent his whole life living in America, and not just Havach. Then the Rebbe moved on to the third Mordechai, which is the one we're in the middle of, which of course the Hera is our Rebbe, and all of the second half of the Maimed, the Pirikim doesn't have the cloud. What's our Rebbe? What's Mordechai? The Sivan Anes. The miracle happened. Haman was killed, and he was hung, and his children were hung, and they killed 75,000 people from Amalek, from Agog, and in Shushan Abidah they killed 800, and everything was wonderful. But Akata Abded Achashverosh Hanan was still in Golos. And Mordechai had to be made in Yidden an understanding that no matter how good it is for them, the cry of Ad Mosai, the cry to have the Gula Amitis Vashlema should be so strong that all of the brachas v'atzlachas is nothing. It's kosses. It's, in the words of the Rebbe, lehevel v'larik. Why? Because Gili Alakus Negel Etzem Etziyoseh. Gili Alakus, that the Eibusha should be revealed, touches the Etzem Etziyos of a Yid, and when there's no Gili Alakus, and it's not B'kol Mokum B'Shaveh, so nothing else is satisfactory. This is what the Rebbe is talking about. And here the Rebbe says in footnote 56, you have both minus. It's the Gili of Yechida itself, Kosas Lamar, but because it's the Gili of Yechida Shebenefesh without an anti-Semite, without a Sibim Bebachutz, so it's the Gili of Yechida, the higher level of Yechida. Gili of Etzem HaNeshama, Fishi Chadim HaAtzmos, and it's Nasa Chadim Keches HaGiluyim. This higher level of Kosas Lamor, we could live in America and want Mashiach so desperately that none of your brachas v'atzlochas, not begashmis, not beruchnis, add up to anything. It's the Kosas Lamor, Hakam the Gula Amitis Vashleim is not here. This is Taka the Gili of the Yechida itself, and it's Bepnimius, because your brain is changed. Your heart is changed, and your senses are changed by this need for this Gals of Melech HaMashiach. This is what we learned yesterday, let's say Dinstik, Tuesday, and the day before, Monday. But now comes a kasha. Kosas Lamoid is black and white. When a Yid is facing certain death, or Shmiras Shabbos, it's black and white. How could it be that in America? What's the Kosas Lamoid? How come Mashiach isn't here? It's not the Pshach Mashiach is not here because the alternative is Stalin or Hitler. The alternative is a life of a Fluma Yid in America, in Borough Park, in Williamsburg, in Lakewood. How could it be that a Yid could live this life, Begashmius and Beruchnius, and be so desperate for the coming of Mashiach that everything he's accomplished, all of his learning, is Asgonish, it's nothing. It's impossible. It cannot be. So that's how Peidik Yud Aleph begins, with the answer to this question. How can Moshe Rabbeinu, of our generation, of the Golos of Ashidus of America, and if you look at it most positively, it's not only that it's good for Yidden Begashmias, it's good for Yidden Beruchnias. And a Yid is so broken, Hayetochen, the Gula, Ametis, Vashleim is not here, that it's Kosas Lamor. How is it possible? And there's only one answer to this question. And the answer is V'yichleilech. It's Takenat Shayach. Moshe cannot be Me'ere in a Yid living in America, and he has a good Begashmis of Berichnis, Kosas Lamoir, Hayitocha Mashiach is not here. You can't do it. Except in one way. If the people give themselves to Moshe Rabbeinu. When the people give their Koichas HaGiluyim, they partner with Moshe Rabbeinu, which I guess in technical terms is Shlichus. A Yid gives himself to the Nasi Hador and to the work of the Nasi Hador. This is how it becomes possible that even in America, a Yid should want Mashiach so much that it's Kosas Lamar. And that's today's Inyan. Today's Shir has a few points, but this is the preeminent point, the most important point. Let's start reading inside. Peidik Yud Aleph. Yesh L'Kasher Zeh, let us connect the idea that in Peirik Yud the Rebbe talked about the Kof Aleim Haki Yosef Har Sinai. He called him Mesiras Nefesh Mipnei Siba. And then he talked about Mordechai, the Frierdik Rebbe, being Me'eder Yidden from Mesiras Nefesh in Soviet Russia, that it's also Mipnei Siba. What's the Siba? An antisemit, a Russia. And then he talked about a Yid living in America, Mordechai after the Nes, where there's no Siba for Kof Aleim Haki Yosef, there's no Siba for an anti-Semite. You have to be me'eded in yourself a rotzah from Mashiach ad gedei kach that you kosses lamoed. And the kash is, how could it be? So he explained that this is called etzem nefesh fisha v'sheshes b'ha'atzmos. That's nasachadim kechas ha'giluya. Says the Rebbe, how can this be? Now, guys, I'm putting words into the Maimer, because the Rebbe doesn't say it b'derech shaylo tshuva, but it's selbstverständlich. It's obvious derech shaylo tshuva. Bapirush hakosef, when it says in the pasuk V'ata Tetzva b'nei Yisrael that Moshe Rabbeinu has to connect you to the Meibishtin Lakash or Lachabes Yisrael made in save laws and Lafar Yisrael b'nei Emunah. And then immediately after it says in the pasuk V'yichvei Hashem and Zayis v'Gema, Yidden have to bring Shem to Moshe Rabbeinu. In other words, that directly in conjunction with the explanation of that Moshe Yitzav v'Yikasher b'nei Yisrael, that Moshe Rabbeinu connects and ties Yidden to Atzmos Ein Sof, Oz Ayavio Yisrael Lemesha Shemen Zayis v'Gemer, Yidden bring to Moshe Rabbeinu Shemen Zayis. And in Peirik Beis of this Maimer, the Rebbe explained that this is Moshe Rabbeinu's schar. And the understanding then was that the schar is separate from the avodah. It's Amanas Lakabel Pras. Says the Rebbe, let's revisit that again. The Zeh Yisrael the Avodos, when Yidden do their avodah of V'ata Tetzava, they react to Moshe Rabbeinu's Mekasher and Mechaber es Yisrael and made in safe Zon and Mefanes es Yisrael b'inyan Emunah Zon and Mefanes Emunah Atzma. Says the Rebbe Yesifu Gili Erbe Madregas Moshe, they add extra light to the Madreg of Moshe Rabbeinu. Says the Rebbe, what do you think that means? That the Eibush give Moshe Rabbeinu a cookie, a glet, noch a shtickl Gan Eden. That's a big Moshe Rabbeinu. Says the Rebbe, you don't understand. One of the ways of explaining this in Avodas Hashem, that Moshe, what's the schad that Moshe gets? The Zeh Moshe, that when Moshe Rabbeinu's mitzav u'makasher b'nei Yisrael connects and ties Yidden to Lakus, who, which means that he nourishes the emunah of a Yid. What does that mean? That not only should Yid have a emunah at the level of chayim, which is called giluyim or mazel, parenthesis, mitzad zeh sha'neshama shalamayla re'elakus, because the neshama which is subconscious is godliness. And the Rebbe told us before that if you have a emunah only from the rega of chaya, it's strong enough to get you to believe in the Eibishter, but it's not strong enough to get you to do what the Eibishter says. This is where the makiv comes in. So therefore you have to have a second inyan. Gam mitzad etzem haneshama, also from the madrega of etzem haneshama, that what? That the emunah should not be from chayish, be from yechida, and therefore the emunah will be nimshach b'pnimius. I want you to skip the bracket for a minute, skipping 2 lines. It says the Rebbe, v'yedei yaveda di Yisrael. Then Yidden do work. What is the work? That la'achar asher nimshach b'Yisrael gili etzem haneshama di Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu touches the moed, and the moed touches the mazel, the giluyim. So the mazel is nimshach b'pnimius. And then even that the yechida should be b'his galus. Says that when Yidden do the work, shegam hakeiches hagiluyim shalahem, that the conscious revealed faculties of the person, parenthesis, hatziyah the keiches, the form of the keiches of a Yid, yiu mat'imim le'etzem haneshama, should be consistent with the etzem haneshama. Moshe wakes up the yechida, and a Yid practically does what the yechida mandates. This adds an increase, okay? Not a schar to Moshe Rabbeinu, no. It adds an increase that Moshe Rabbeinu's Ve'ata Tetzava is even better. Teaches the Rebbe that Yisrael Ve'esafa B'Bechinas Etzem HaNeshama, a new dimension is added to the Etzem HaNeshama, Shenimshachov in his Gasol B'Hamai De Moshe, which is drawn down and revealed to Moshe Rabbeinu with the Vichwa Elecha. Because when Moshe Rabbeinu is Me'eder Yechidish B'Nefesh, and then Yidden do the avodah based on that, which means they give Moshe Rabbeinu back their selves, the Kechsa Giluyim. Says the Rebbe, Mizgal Lebo, it reveals in the Yid, Shor Shor Amiti, the higher level of Yechidah Shebenefesh, Kimei Shi B'Sheshes Ba'atzmos, V'Itz Moment Atmos Ein Sof. So the word is that this idea that there's a Mordechai after the Nes, there's a Rebbe in America, that can make a Yid Kosas Lamar, the fact that he's in Golos. How is it possible? It's only possible because there's a combination of two things. Number one, Ve'ata Tetzava, Moshe Rabbeinu is Mekasher, Mechaber Yisrael Amedin saved. And number two, V'yikchu Elecha, Yid give himself to Moshe Rabbeinu. And this is an amazing thing. The Rebbe is saying that a Rebbe has a limit. That's kfirah. Yeah. And you'll see in a few minutes how the Rebbe is going to deal with that as well in Perikid Beis. What's the limit of a Rebbe? He could touch your Yechidah. Maybe he can be Megala your Yechidah. But he cannot make the Yechidah Chadim Kechsa Gilui. It's going to be Davanez Kechsa Gilui. He cannot make that the Yechidah Shebenefesh should be revealed in such a way that your brain is the Yechidah brain. That your heart is the Yechidah heart. That your sense is the Yechidah senses. But we could. Where you don't just follow, but you partner with Moshe Rabbeinu. V'yikchu elecha, you give your person, your mitzias, your mahos, your life to the avoid of Moshe Rabbeinu. This allows that the V'ata Tetzava should be enhanced. So Take, Moshe Rabbeinu gets a schar. Moshe Rabbeinu's schar is V'yikchu elecha Shem and Zayizor. But what's the schar? A piece of cake? A shtickle Sheraban Lev Yosef? A shtickle Gan Eden? The schar that Moshe Rabbeinu gets is that the hatzlacha of the Ve'ata Tetzava is even more than it could be mitzat Moshe Rabbeinu himself. How could there be more hatzlacha in Moshe Rabbeinu's Aveda than Moshe Rabbeinu's Aveda itself? A Yid, v'koilach. That's the pshat in Maimer. And this, Rabbi Yisai, is the most important point of this Maimer. Okay? That is the culmination of the Maimer. In other words, this is the Rebbe said a Maimer about the Tetzava. And he gave it to each one of us. Whoever would take it, he was giving them away. He wanted to give away as many as possible. And his the word of the Maimed that Moshe Rabbeinu was made by Yidin Das. Well, I'm all look at the word of the Maimed that Mordechai was made by Yidin Mesiras Nefesh is also I'm all look at But the word that Moshe Rabbeinu was made by Yidin Ratzon to Mashiach, that's so strong. That Kosas Lamoyer is in God has nothing that he's ever done in his life is anything because there's no Asgal Mashiach. This is us. This is our Rebbe, and this is our time. This is our Avodah. But it has a catch. The catch is that Klayochol Moshe Rabbeinu cannot give it by himself. There's a requirement for a duality, for shutfus, right? What we call in the olden days, Chabad Montam Dafalein Ton Nishvalosen Zechafareben. That's what this is. V'ata Tetzava es Bnei Yisrael, that's Moshe Rabbeinu's inyan. And V'yikchu Elech Hashem and Zayizach is Medafalein Ton. And when you combine the V'ata Tetzava and the V'yikchu Elecha, then you have the highest Kosas Lamoy. That you're living in America, and your life is good b'gashminis and good b'ruchnis, but it's Golas. And because of this partnership, there's a gefil of Gila of Yechida that wants Mashiach and Eifim that's Kosas Lamoy. And then the Rebbe adds the last two words of the pasuk. L'halas near Tomid, not me'erev ad beikeh Tomid. Let's read. This explains something else. Next paragraph, Mashakosa ba'amayim. When the Jewish people add. I skipped the bracket. I skipped two brackets, yeah? I skipped the paragraph. So Moshe Rabbeinu connects us to the Eibishter. And then we give Moshe Rabbeinu back. What do we give Moshe Rabbeinu back? Ourselves. We're not just followers. We're shutfim. The candle that burns is tamid. Even during the day it shines, not just at night. The shaila is this, that the candle of the neshama, the Shem Nishmasad, who tamid, is always the same. B'shava b'lishino, it never changes. This requires Moshe Rabbeinu. That's me'ered yatzam neshama v'ata tetzava. Everybody knows that the pintel yid has no shinuyim. So l'chayra Moshe Rabbeinu is magala. The yatzam neshama is mahalis ner tamid. Frag the Rebbe u'b'mayarei the Maimer said she'inyan the ner tamid. The idea of the Ner Tamid is that she Yisrael Mesif Madregas Mesha by Yidden added Madregas Mesha Rabbeinu. What does what Yidden add to Mesha Rabbeinu have to do with Ner Tamid? Says the Rebbe, Vikoilach, V'yashleima the Teretz is, Shabagilu the Etzem HaNeshama B'derech Momayla the Ivata Tetzava. If Moshe is operating unilaterally, Moshe is doing all the work, and we're just following, like the Derech of Chasidei Poil. Moshe Rabbeinu is a Rebbe Tzadik, he's Ma'ir Yiddish Neshamas. And the Neshamas are woken up. In the day of Moshe Rabbeinu it was Das. In the times of Mordechai Yehudi it was Mesiras Nefesh. Says the Rebbe, if Yidden are not partnering with Moshe Rabbeinu, it has a limit. What's the limit? Yesh chiluk bein erev u'beker. The difference between night and day. In other words, she'ikir hagili shalahu, the Indian that Moshe Rabbeinu could be made in Moed and even Kosas Lamoed is primarily Kishayeshnem Alamas Vestadim, Asefinstit Erev. They said that through this, Mis'eder, Umizgala Kecha Mesiras Nefesh, Moshe Rabbeinu can reveal him to his Nefesh. That he can do by himself. In Russia, under Haman. Ukamation is by a little Sefiru to discuss before. That we see a fact, Shigam Eila Shebezman HaGezerah Erev, Yidden, in our times, in Russia, that in the time of the Gezerah when it was dark, Omdu B'Mesiras Nefesh, ready for Mesiras Nefesh, Kishabol L'Mokim, and they themselves came to a place, She'ef She'lasik B'Teiru Mitzvahs, that you can learn Teira and do Mitzvahs that Chava comfortably baked. Says the Rebbe, Ein Niker B'Hem HaMesiras Nefesh, Ahoyol HaMikoyd, and the Mesiras Nefesh disappears. Why? Because the Mesiras Nefesh requires a Stalin, Yamach Shmei. A kosis that's from outside. They because of the Mepnei. You take away the Mepnei, the kosis is gone. So it's only made of a baker, like it says in the second pasuk of this sequence. It says the Rebbe, that there should be a candle that burns, and it makes no difference if it's dark or light. Even when the sun is shining, there's still a gil of yichida. Ein shaykh ve'ishina, and that means there's no shaykh shina. Is the idea of Yisrael Yisrael. It requires Yidden should partner with Moshe Rabbeinu, shegam kechas hagiluyim, that they give to Moshe Rabbeinu what they own, which is the kechas hagiluyim, yichad etzem haneshama, which is v'koilach. And that's this maimed. This page yadad, that's this maimed. V'koilach. The Rebbe Kvayochel is saying that in every door Moshe Rabbeinu has made the door. In this generation, there's a possibility for the maximum Hisedidus of a Rebbe and his Am. The Mitadecha does a Gila of Yechido, and Mitadasheni, the Gila of Yechido is Pnimius. But there's a basic limitation. It cannot happen for Moshe Rabbeinu by himself. It only can happen if Yidna Shutim with Moshe Rabbeinu, Yichwilach. Verstehst? Now let's have a look at the pasuk. Every word in the pasuk is understood, and the seder of the words in the pasuk are understood. ואתה תצוה es b'nei Yisrael, Moshe Rabbeinu connects into the Meibish. And if the Yikru Elech Hashem and Zayizach, Yidden are not just takers, but they're shutfim, they give Moshe Rabbeinu the Kechas HaGiluyim, that's the highest level of Kosses Lamoy. Kosses, they're crushed. Lamoy, that they don't only wake up the Yechidah, but they reveal the Yechidah. And on what a level, Lahalis Ner Tamid, that it's lichtik and gas umeshaitat Mosai. This is only possible when you. So all 11 words in the pasuk work, and they're in the right order. Let's finish the paragraph. Ki kosis lamoir. The idea of kosis lamoir, nichel gamze, includes the second madreg of Mordechai. Our generation, not the Frierdiker Rebbe's generation. That Zeshe Yisrael Shvudim and Negoyim Kodidin are broken and crushed, but not because someone wants to kill them for keeping Shabbos, but Mizeh Shem Nemtsoyim Begolos, Magvitzach and Agolos. Says the Rebbe, the Indian said, this idea, Yisrael requires Yidden's work, Yidden's shutfus with Moshe Rabbeinu, Shegam Kechas HaGiluyim Shalhem, the revealed faculties of the Neshama of a Yid, Yumatim Etzem HaNeshama should be aligned with Etzem HaNeshama, and then, Bechinas Hamor the Neshama Shemizgas Hayedezeh, when the Yechida is revealed, it's not the level of Yechida which is called Mugde Begeder Apshitas, limited in the fact that it's unlimited, but rather the higher level of Yechida Shem Nefesh. Etzem HaNeshama, Kameishi B'Sheshes Ba'atzmus, Etzem HaNeshama, which one of the Eivish that doesn't even have the limit of being unlimited, and it becomes chad and chayis hayilu. Well, Achain says the Rebbe, this is why. You go back to the pasuk. Nemar kosas lamoid after v'koilach. There is a kosas lamoid before v'koilach, but the kosas lamoid without v'koilecha is not the highest madriga of kosas lamoid. It's only made of adveiker. You want to have the highest madriga kosas lamoid, you have to first v'koilach. In other words, you could read the pasuk 3 times. If this pasuk is talking about Moshe Rabbeinu, the pasuk would say this: "V'ata tetzava es b'nei Yisrael moed." That's it. Moshe Rabbeinu, "V'ata tetzava es b'nei Yisrael moed," and then if you want, you could add "B'koilach Hashem Zayisrael." If you're talking about Mordechai in the times of the Gezerah, you would say "V'ata tetzava es b'nei Yisrael kosis lamoed me'erev ad boiker." But in our generation, in other words, Mordechai after the Nes, there's a V'ata tetzava es b'nei Yisrael. And there's there's a partnership of Yidden with Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Madrega of Kosas Lamor, Yidden are crushed, and the Yechidi, which is revealed, is in a way of Ner Tomid, even by day it shines. And the Pasuk is perfect. In other words, on a level of Limud, the Maimed is Gvald. And in terms of the Hiron, they say to us it's Mamish, not from this world. This Pedic, what we just read, is the point of the Maimed. It takes forever to get to, but this is the point. But then there's another point, which I skipped. 2 brackets. The first bracket starts 7 lines into Perek Yud Aleph. In my print, it's in page Mamalef, is the last line of page V'yesh Loimer. And the second bracket is the whole paragraph after that, okay? So going back to Perek Yud Aleph, 7 lines into the Perek, the beginning of the line is V'yesh Loimer. How did we touch them? Ve'ata tetzave, Moshe Rabbeinu connects you into the Meibishter. Moshe Rabbeinu Zon refines as Yisrael binyan Hamuna. Moshe Rabbeinu Zon refines Hamuna Atzma. Ikirin Ayim Tetzasi and Allah Zachos Megalerent. All of these days, yeah. But there's another touch, Mata tetzave, and that's what these 2 brackets teach. And it's a whole new mind. You could take these 2 brackets and build from it a ganz new mind. Ve'ata tetzave b'nei Yisrael. You can connect a Yid with another Yid. Not a Yid with a Eibishter, a Yid with another Yid. And if Yata the Tzavas b'nei Yisrael, a Yid with another Yid, there's 2 levels. One level is you connect a Yid with another Yid. You know how? The neshama of one and the neshama of the next. What about the goof? No, the goof is Ma'al Master. Only the neshama. Like it doesn't Tanya. Nafsham Ike, goof from Tafel, then you come up with Yisrael. But there's a higher Madrega about the Tzavas, that you connect one Yid and another Yid in the Guf. What about the problem of Guf and Mechulakim? Is the teretz, if you're holding on a Madrega of Yata Tetzaveh with the Shutfis of a Yikoy Lecho, then you're able to introduce a new level of Avas Yisrael, which doesn't even say in Tanya. That's on it inside. The Shleimer. So, Masha Kosov, when it says in the Pasuk, Yata Tetzaveh b'nei Yisrael, that Hashem, Moshe Rabbeinu, should connect Yid into the Meibishter. It includes also that Losh and V'ata Tetzaveh b'nei Yisrael mashma. This includes also Shemesha Mitzaveh, that Moshe Rabbeinu connects, parenthesis, Makasher and Mechabet as b'nei Yisrael Atzman, one Yid with another Yid. Keep it at Etz, Aman Neshama, and level V'chidish Benefesh, Kol Yisrael Emchad, Yid one. But wait, we're a Kol Yisrael Chad. Look in Tanya. I show you know the Sichel from the Rebbe, that the Rebbe says that the Baal Shem Tov said you have to love a Yid that you never met. The Message of Maggid said you have to love a Rosh Gomer like a Tzaddik Gomer. And the Alter Rebbe says Kula Matimis. But even the Alter Rebbe, who says that all Yidden are the same, on what level are all Yidden the same? On the level of the Neshama. So if you have Moshe Rabbeinu, that's Makasher a Yid to the Meibishter, or is Makasher a Yid to another Yid, unilaterally, and he's doing the whole Avodah, you can achieve the Madrega V'af L'Recha Kamoicha, but only on the level of the Neshama. But when you have a Yikroy Lechem, that Yidden are Shutz with Moshe Rabbeinu, in other words, you Megale, the Etzem HaNeshama K'fichad Ba'atzmos, that not only is the V'ata Tetzaveh between a Yid and the Eibishter a different V'ata Tetzaveh, V'ata Tetzaveh of a Yid and a Yid is a different V'ata Tetzaveh. Next bracket, Ulahoyer, Shaydei Zenites of Gam Ba'achtas Yisrael. When you add this third Madrega, which is Kosses Lamoyer, that's not based only on V'ata Tetzaveh. It's Kosses Lamoyer based on a combination of V'ata Tetzaveh and V'yikhu Elechem. that we bring the Keches HaGeluim, the Tzir Shel Keches HaGeluim to Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Etzem HaNeshama comes Chadim Keches HaGeluim, Chadim HaAtzmut. Sha'achtas the Yisrael. The idea of Avos Yisrael and Achtas Yisrael. The Etzem HaNeshama, level Etzem HaNeshama. Shemizgalus Behem, which is revealed in them. If it's Kemei of an Eisef HaMetziyusim, if it's the lower level of Yechid. So L'chein Achtas Zu Yayidei She'esim Nafsham Ike B'Gufam Tafel, and that's it. The only way you can have Avos Yisrael is you focus on the Neshama and you ignore the Guf. However, if you reveal the higher Madreg in Etzem HaNeshama, there's one with the Eibishter, and that's only revealed when there's a Shutfus, because then the Etzem HaNeshama becomes Chadim Keches HaGeluim. Says the Rebbe, the Keches HaGeluim, Chadim Etzem, then the Keches HaGeluim. Says the Rebbe, Achtus, the Yisrael, he b'chola, and Yodem Shalahem, you could love another Jew exactly as you love himself, not just your Neshama, love his Neshama, you care about his bread. Gambi in Yonam HaShechem Laguf. This is a Chiddush. You learn this Maimer. This Maimer is so full of it that these people miss. It's just unbelievable. The Rebbe says a Madreg in Avos Yisrael, but it doesn't say in Tanya. In Tanya it says Avos Yisrael, they should nafshem gifim gufim tafel. It's a Neshama loving a Neshama, and the Guf is a stira. Says the Rebbe, that's only if it's a Gil of Yechidah Sheba Nefesh. That's from the Rebbe alone. Vata Tetzava, there's no V'yichaylecha. But if the V'ata Tetzava comes along V'yichaylecha, then the Avos Yisrael could be the Guf of a Yid to the Guf of a Yid, and he loves another Jew literally, Kamaycha Mamish, like he loves himself Mamish, because when there's a Gil of Yechidah Sheba Nefesh, Etzem HaNeshama, Kameshu Meshesh is B'ha'atzmus. So first of all, there's the Etzem HaNeshama is Chadim Keches HaGeluim, and Etzem HaNeshama is Chadim, the other Yid, it's Guf. And that's why this Pedic Aleph is there. You wait so long to get to this Nakudah, that in our generation, you could sleep in Golis. I say, Geschmack Schlaf, because man lernt, man daven, man tut mitzvahs, and man gets dokas gewaldig. Kommt again Moshe Rabbeinu, and he says, I'm not letting you sleep. What does Hirschberg say? The Lubavitch Rebbe schluft nicht, muss keiner nicht schlufen. He doesn't let anybody else sleep. When Yidden are shutfim with Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe Rabbeinu becomes a much more mutzach Rebbe. Where do you see it? You see it in the idea of Ner Tomer, the post of Erev at Beker, and you see it in the infant Avos Yisrael. That the Avos Yisrael is not just the Neshama, to the Neshama it's the Guf to the Guf. And let me just add, think about this in Igla terms, right? There's a Machloikis Rishonim, based on Machlokes and Tanoim. Was the Meneda lit by night or also by day? Most the Tanoim hold, the most of the Rishonim hold, only by night. By day they did Hatava in the morning, and then the Meneda sat empty until the evening. Who holds that the Meneda burnt by night and by day? Who's Lubavitch's best friend? The Rambam. Those are Ben Yankiv. The Rambam. The Rambam Pascal the Meneda burnt by day and by night. What's the difference if you hold the Meneda burnt only by night or burnt by day? If you hold the Meneda burnt only by night, because you understand that by day a candle doesn't make a difference. The sun's shining. If you hold it even when the sun is shining, that candle still makes a difference. That candle has to be so potent that it makes even the sunlight notice that there's a new oil. And this is only possible when there's a V'yichulach. Shutfim with Moshe Rabbeinu. So now, Perikid Aleph is the whole Maimer, right? This is what, as they say in the culture, the moment you've been waiting for. The Perikid Aleph leaves a chassid with a bad taste. Why? Because in Perikid Aleph you're suggesting that there's something that Moshe can't do by himself. Moshe kann das nicht. Moshe cannot be ma'eder this madreg of Yechida unless, quote, we help him. Ich habe gehört einmal, Chassidim fragen verbringen, does the Rebbe need our Mivtzoyim or to do us a favor? So these Chassidim were saying, the Rebbe, the Boni Eitzach, the Gemara Mesech B'Tshuvas, the Rebbe needs Chassidim. And the andere haben geschrien, was Retz, the Rebbe darf keinen nicht, he can do it all by himself, and he's doing us a favor. Here is a Maimer that L'chayda suggests that the Rebbe says, my V'ata Tetzava is changed if there's a V'yichol. So you go away thinking, Take, the Rebbe can't do this unless we help him, Klesa mentioned. So therefore you have a Perikid base, a short little Perik. But it addresses this point, that in Perikid Aleph, we introduce the highest Hisoidus that Moshe Rabbeinu, it's a Gili of Yechida, and it's a Pnimius. Both milas. Like it says in footnote 56. But it requires a shutfes vichu elecha from Yidden. Claimish, klayochel, ki'ilu, Moshe Rabbeinu can't do it by himself. Says the Rebbe, wait. Now that we did Chasidus, let's go back to Chumash. Yeah, we didn't type. Hine. Hapirish bepashtus. What's the simple type of the words? V'ata Tezava es b'nei Yisrael vichu elecha. Forget the Chasidus. Is Moshe Yitzhak es b'nei Yisrael. Moshe tells the Jewish people, Shavichu elecha, they should give him the oil. What does this mean? That Moshe Rabbeinu gives us the koyach, that we should give him the koyach for kosas lamoyer near Tamid. Huh? Let's apply that to this whole mind. The fact that Moshe Rabbeinu is mitzav and Makasha is b'nei Yisrael connects and ties Yidden to the Meibish. Even the idea that the Maimon said in Perikid Aleph, Moshe Rabbeinu cannot do it. You didn't have to do it to become shutfus to Moshe Rabbeinu. That part of it that you didn't have to do, Moshe gave them the koyach for. It applies to the Rebbe. His work was la'edid or la'galif to wake up and to reveal Samun or the Shabbat Yisrael. From the Etzem Neshama. They should do the work on their own, which is the V'yichvei Lecha. So Taka V'yichvei Lecha we do, but the V'yichvei Lecha we also get from Moshe Rabbeinu. And then I choose in their Tomich Ein Beishayach Beishida Gam Tiach Sagilui. So in Pedek Yadav you could walk away and say the Rebbe has a limit. He needs the Hasidim to reach this higher Madrege. And Perikid Bey says Takazoi, but the koyach for the V'yichvei Lecha also comes from Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Rebbe finished right there. He says Zeichim Akodev Mamish. Through this we married very quickly. To the Gula Mitzvah Shleimesh Oz Yugili Elokus Gam Mitadamat as the revelation of Godness from the Mat. Oz, and then there will be Havo as Hashem and the bringing of Shemen. Batlokas and there's and lighting of candles. V'yichvei Lecha Shemen Zayizach Lahalis Ner Tamid Gam Bagashmi Beis Hamikdash Shlishi. The Gula Mitzvah Hashem Adem Mashiach Tzedkenu. And the last years, the Rebbe, the most recent years, the Rebbe used to say, take it from a Yad Mamish. Okay, what do you got to say? Delicious, huh? But the Maimon is in a sin as koyach. The Maimon says 1,000 things, and one of them is, you want to be connected to Moshe Rabbeinu, do what Moshe Rabbeinu says to do. Because when you do what Moshe Rabbeinu says to do, you're helping Moshe Rabbeinu be Moshe Rabbeinu, which is a funny concept, but that's what the Rebbe says in the Maimon. So now when the Alter Rebbe argued with his Chavedim, and he insisted on Chabad and Aveda B'keach Atzmei, and the Polish Tzadikim said, what are you talking about? Tzad b'manasa yicha, tikri yicha, eli yechaya, everything is the Rebbe, the Tzadik. Says the Alter Rebbe, you don't understand. What I'm saying, that you didn't have to do Aveda B'keach Atzmei, is to help Moshe Rabbeinu be Moshe Rabbeinu. So we're back to square one. Alles is the Rebbe. Everything is the Tzadik. Okay, so 8 o'clock will be a Fabreng and Mitzvah Hashem, same station. Okay, thank you for joining.
8 o'clock? 8?
Yeah, 8 o'clock. It said
Okay,
9:30. 8 o'clock I'm going to chazer the Maimon, and we're going to make a hefsek for Maimon. We're going to make a Fabreng.
Very good.
Okay, Besudas Tevis.